yeah, this panel was really, my idea is kind of to show people that working in Web3 data science is really not rocket magic or rocket science. It's something that's very approachable, and I kind of have invited a panel of my top wizards and also friends nowadays, because I think each of their stories is very individual, and it kind of shows that you can find many ways to roam, and roam in that case being like finding a job in Web3. And for that purpose, we're kind of gonna explore each of their stories individually, and then at the end, we're kind of gonna bring it together and explore how can you become a Web3 data science? Where would you start today? Like, what's the path? And really, how can you make a career in this space? And especially using Dune Analytics, right? So yeah, I think we're gonna start with Kofi. And first of all, what do you do today, Kofi? What's your role?
Yeah, so today I work as a partner at One Confirmation. So Richard, who did the first talks, my boss, and yeah, we're an early stage crypto VC.
Okay. What did you do before? What was your day-to-day job before?
Yeah, so my day job before I got into crypto full time was I was working as a transport planner. Optimizing railway timetables and that sort of stuff. Like really atoms, not bits type thing, not digital at all. Yeah.
Okay. I see. What's your background like in general?
I studied civil engineering at university, so also not software related at all, not crypto related at all. But uni is how I got into crypto because I just had friends who introduced me to Ethereum mining in 2017, and that was my way in.
And so I guess between being having a traditional job and going into this Web3 space, there's a transition period.
Yeah.
So what was your kind of transition period like? What are some of the things you did that helped you transition into this Web3 world?
Yeah. So the transition was very much you do your day job, evenings and weekends is crypto, and broke graduate engineer, you don't really have money to be involved in the space through trading. And I was a big data nerd. So the way that I met people and kind of engaged in stuff was through data science, figuring out answering my own questions about where money was going and who was making money and all of this. And the important part of the transition was when I stopped answering questions just for myself and actually started engaging with other people, sharing data insights that I found on Reddit and on Twitter, and actually reaching out to wizards who I respected, like Richard, who I work with now, and yeah, just helping people out and meeting with people, and that's when you start to get opportunities inbound to move into crypto full time, and yeah, as simple as that.
Yeah. You're kind of underselling yourself. So you started a crypto newsletter in early 2020, or an NFT-focused newsletter, I guess early 2020, late 2020, when NFTs weren't even a thing. People were oh yeah, there's mooncats and that's it. And tell me a bit more about that story.
Yeah, so I mean that was it was an NFT market data newsletter. I mean basically late 2020. Volume started to pick up, not volume that we see today, but people were selling NFTs for $50K and stuff, and I was $50K, this is insane. How is this possible? And it just kind of made sense because, it's another piece of the jigsaw puzzle. It's fungible tokens let you do all the financial stuff, and then with non-fungible tokens, you can expand the blockchain use cases to everything that isn't financial. And so it just made sense to me, but I didn't have money to get involved through trading, so the way I got involved was writing this newsletter, and so every week for about a year, I would answer a new question about what is the user base of all of these marketplaces, or who are the top trading collectors, or all of these NFT artists are making money, the folk who are making 100K plus a year, what kind of art are they making, when are they making it, and all of these questions that I had, and then people started to ask me questions, and kind of a long year of just kind of grinding that out every single week, evenings and weekends, whilst I was doing my day job as well. And it was great for learning, because that's how I met you, in Discord, answering my early questions, and Richard was answering my early questions and all of that stuff. And it's basically fully responsible for me getting the opportunity to work in this space full time and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, exciting story. Really like respect the hustle for like starting that newsletter and just like every week you'd have like a new thing in your inbox. It was very exciting. Very cool. Very inspiring. So Chu Chin, so I guess what's your current role? Where do you work at? What do you do?
So I'm currently in the data team at Optimism. And before that, I was working in the data analytics team at a company called Canva.
Okay, so Canva is not web, like that's Web2 stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And what did you kind of do to like ease yourself into Web3, or like maybe what were like the communities you engaged with? Kind of like what was your journey into like this Web3 space like?
Yeah, I think at the very beginning, so I kind of have like 2 different lives. I mean, even before Canva, I was originally coming from a finance investment banking background, so I was never ever really technical at the beginning. But most of the time actually driven by curiosity. So when I first entered into the tech industry, that was because, I find it super interesting and fascinating. I think this is the forefront of the next generation kind of like innovation. So I got into that via like data science, data analytics stuff. And then in the meantime, because me driven by the curiosity, so I also started looking into crypto, and I'm like, I have no idea what's happening, but it's really interesting. And the more I look into it, the more fascinated I become, because sometimes it's not just about the technology, but also what's beyond. Especially like since last year, there was boom in NFTs and also previously like DeFi. That involves finance, culture, governance, and everything. So that's just brings all the things that I'm interested in into one place, and that's why I'm like, yeah, that's the next big thing that I want to get into.
Yeah. And how did you start to get involved? Like similar to how Kofi started his newsletter and kind of just putting out content.
Yeah.
I think you chose like a different journey, which is like engaging very intimately with like communities.
Yeah, definitely a different path, because I can't really keep myself accountable for writing newsletters on a weekly basis. What I did, I think initially I was just quietly following a lot of the crypto data people. So one of the people is Andrew, and then I think last year in October he just posted, there's a co-branded kind of program, our network and Dune, and he's gonna pick 30 people from across the world, and we're gonna have this kind of 30-day, everyone studying doing analytics and doing blockchain data analytics together. And through that program, that's also how I get to know like all the people sitting here and the data community. So I would say like I'm definitely benefiting a lot from that, and also getting lots of inspiration, because via the program, what I've learned is that first of all, in crypto and in blockchain, everything is open source, and it's super important to share your findings and insights and your analysis to the public. So by doing that, you kind of like just naturally grow your kind of credentials and reputation in the space, and that's how I kind of like gradually starting to get into it.
Yeah, interesting. And like, is there any like freelance work or something you did like during like transition phase?
Yeah, definitely. I think the transition phase was kind of, now I think about it, it's kind of crazy, because I have my full-time job, and then once I finish my full-time job, close my work laptop, then I switch to my personal laptop, open Discord, and it becomes a completely different world. And nobody really knows about it, but I'm like, just kind of doing things around the clock, which is kind of insane. Now I think about it, and I also don't know where I have all this energy to begin with. Maybe there's a phase when you are just like super pumped and super passionate about something, and you are so willing just to use your free time to do it and learn the stuff. And yeah, that's how I kind of transition. But yeah, it's kind of probably not recommended for everyone if you want to have like a balance.
Okay, I see. So yeah, very cool story. So Hurdobi, what did you do before you like became the grandest Dune Wizard of them all?
That's a lot to live up to. But I am a Dragonfly, a data scientist, and I used to be a freelancing Dune Wizard on the side. And I actually had my master's studies that were focusing on data modeling and computational science, alongside as well a job in Web2 at a company called Vesper, where I was a data scientist, also working on forecasting and data modeling. And as I grew on Dune, I guess I slowly fiddled out of those two things and dropped out of my studies once I do not recommend you drop out your studies, by the way. But I did once I realized that everything was going on Dune, like I was getting a lot of traction, some jobs and some freelancing work, and yeah, once that like gained traction, I realized this was going to be more valuable than my master's could have been. No one was asking for my CV when I was working in crypto, so yeah, I took the leap and dropped out, and also slowly filled it out of my job, my Web2 job which is in the dairy industry, very Web2.
Yeah, okay, I see. And I guess so you really took it the next step with the freelancing, I think, or like not even the freelancing, but just like you pushed out a lot of content. And what was that kind of driven by? Like, is that your own curiosity, or like was there like a grand schema to all of this, or was it just like, oh yeah, like a shiny new thing, let's like look at this?
I think I started like a year and a half ago looking into Dune more out of curiosity and trying to understand what's going on in the blockchain and how it works. So for like personally understanding. And then it started gaining traction, so I realized, okay, there's like I can actually share some things and people care about it, which is cool. And I grew that way over time. But the way I worked as a freelancer was I kind of divided my time as like 80% looking into what I'm curious, like just sharing it as kind of marketing for myself, I guess, and 20% taking like contract work and getting money
Wow.
to for every month. But yeah, and it wasn't that long-lived of a freelancing career, but I slowly went into it, kind of with always within that in mind. I was looking for whatever job. I was always looking for something, and I was waiting to see the job offer that matched what I wanted, I guess.
Okay, I see. Very cool story.
But yeah, you have the best
You have
story.
the best
Yeah,
story
I think
of
you
us
also
all.
have
I
a
guess.
story.
The most degenerate story out of all.
Yeah.
It's like I said.
So to answer my own questions, I guess. So I was just a student before. So like I dropped out of my bachelor's actually to join Dune. And how I did that was just, I was like freelancing like during DeFi summer. Like I worked with Pickle, with Barnbridge, with Finance, with Yearn, a lot of different protocols. And eventually I realized that I had this skill, which was like in high demand, but like it wasn't that well known. It was like Dune was this like tiny thing, like sometimes came up on Twitter, but not a lot of people were really aware of it. And basically I realized like, hey, I have this skill, and like if that skill like goes out of fashion, I'm done. So what I thought about doing is like, hey, like me just like help people in the Dune Discord and kind of really like give back to the community, because like I think that's like a general ethos in the Web3 space, that people just really like helping each other out. It's like I can ask you a question about like any NFT protocol, and you'd be like, oh yeah, sure, like let me help you out. And like the same pretty much goes for like even like total anons, which you just like meet in some Discord. It's like usually people are like super nice and super like giving back, because usually they share that experience of like somebody has taught them as well. So I think that's like a very common thing in crypto, and like I had experienced that in my like whole DeFi journey. So then like when I had a skill that I could share, I was just like, yeah, like let me, like of course like out of self-interest as well, like I wanted Dune to succeed, but by Dune succeeding, like I succeeded, like my like probability of success would also go up. So yeah, I just started helping out in Dune Discord, and yeah, eventually Frederick reached out and was like, hey, like don't you actually want to do this as a job? So yeah, very fun story. So yeah, so I guess like the commonality that we all see here is kind of like just being in public. Hilda, like, is there anything you can say to that?
As in, like, what do you mean, building in public and how?
Yeah, like what do you think is like the difference between like just doing stuff for yourself or like actually going out and like sharing all of this stuff?
Oh well, I wouldn't be here if I didn't do it in public. So there's that, and yeah, for me, like I guess it got my name out there, and it got me into opportunities I had no chance of getting if I wasn't doing this in public. And I can also have, I think it's an ethos kind of we share that about like just common good that we like to build and like just share for the world to see. Most of the analytics I do is because I'm frustrated because I can't find it, and I'm like, that should be there somewhere, and it's weird it isn't. So I'll go ahead and surface it myself. I surface a lot of high-level dashboards on many different topics, but that's my approach to things, I would say.
So just like you look like what am I interested in, and then you're just like, if it's not there, I'm just gonna go ahead and build it.
Yeah, it was like I started looking into DEX data originally back a year and a half ago. That was interesting. It didn't gain much traction, but it was interesting. And then came summer and NFT summer and stuff. So I looked into NFTs, and that took off. That was pretty cool. I also looked into Ethereum gas, into staking, into filtering out wash trading. I'm probably missing some stuff, but yeah, a bunch of different things, and whatever I'm curious about. I'm a very curious-driven person, I would say.
Okay, I see. And then just publishing those results, and then you're like, makes a lot of sense. So Nifty, what brought you to like build in public? Was it like, so you shared earlier that like, okay, I can't participate like monetarily, so I'm just gonna be like the guy to like kind of share this information with the world?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even really think it was like anything like altruistic like that. It was just that I understood that, I couldn't make gains like in the money sense, but like so much of crypto is like right now, especially because the space is so small, it's like a social network, and I didn't know anybody who could like help me get in full time or like give me opportunities, and so it's really just about putting out like proof of expertise, like, okay, I am one of the people who knows what's going on, and like, I'm hardworking, and I've got like, there's evidence here that like you can rely on me for stuff. So I just wanted to, just have proof out there that like I was a reliable person who knew what was going on so that I could get opportunities for myself. And I think that the main differentiator for me was that like, there are so many people on Dune whose queries are much better than mine, who are like technically smarter and also like more like proficient than I am in actual data science. But a lot of like wizards who don't get as much attention as they should, like the difference is really just one of like formatting. Like, just basic stuff like, like a title that people can understand, the nice colors, and like you've organized the charts nicely, and if there's any jargon, you like have like a thing to explain, like this is what TVL means for like people who are new and stuff, and then like also like being cross-channel about it, like so you do the dashboard and then you write a newsletter and then you write a Twitter thread to like summarize the stuff. That's just like nobody wants to read unless it's like by someone like 4156 or 6529, no one wants to read a 30-bit thread. So it's just like, here are the 3 things that you need to do. And this is the one number that you wanted to know about, like where this money is going and who's doing the stuff. And just, just being good in the communication and like even bothering to communicate, and also like not having the fear of like my stuff isn't good enough yet. Because when I started out, like I knew nothing, when I started out on Dune, I knew nothing about SQL. I'd never written SQL before. Like looking back, there was even like stuff I put out at the very beginning that was just wrong. I had to go back and correct later. Like even now, like I have some dashboards. I'm terrible at maintaining my dashboards. I need to go back and like maintain some of them. But like if you're like afraid that like, someone's going to find my mistake, then you just never put out anything, and then you never get anything. So you got to like put it out. Someone will tell you that's a mistake. You go out, you put out the right thing, and then you just kind of go on like that.
Yeah. Okay. I see. Chu Chin, what is some of the public work that you have produced that kind of, I think like what I already see is kind of like the public work in the end like really helps you get a job. Like if Phil hadn't like put out all of these public goods, like he wouldn't have the job. Like if you hadn't like done this newsletter and all the like networking you did, like you wouldn't have this job. And I think you engaged with communities like a lot more, and kind of like became like in Metrics DAO, and like even for us like hosting this whole bounty thing.
Yeah, that's definitely the trend I'm seeing, because I'm definitely not generating as many like public dashboards as the other two does. But I think what I've been doing, what I kind of come up with is, I think my work, which is like contributing to the community, like being contributing to DAOs or like in Dune. And also like what Kofi and Dobby has been doing about like putting your data in front of the public is more about creating value. So if what you do is actually creating value, then people will just naturally come to you. Like you will grow your followings, you will grow your reputations. So yeah, like I think what I did, sometimes I kind of like underestimate how much I know, because I'll be like, oh yes, when I was in Canva, we've been doing DBTs from the very beginning, and nobody in like, well, at least like when I first started looking into it, I don't know much about like in the crypto data kind of industry, people using DBT. But later on, flip side, I was doing that. Dune has been like having a spell book, and people found out I had like a DBT tutorial thing on YouTube, and this is how they kind of started learning DBT and starting to contribute to all this like public open source data GitHub. So yeah, I think that's basically how you kind of adding value in various different ways, and that's just my take on this.
Yeah. So all of you are like made men now, or made women. So like when you would start today, like what would you kind of do? Maybe like what are the communities you would engage with? What's like a approach that you think works? Maybe Kofi, you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like the formula is the same, like even if like data isn't your thing, like if you wanted to get into smart contract engineering or front-end engineering or whatever it was, it's like really just a very simple like two-step process of like, first of all, like finding the right Discord for like the thing. So for Dune, there's Dune Discord, and then there's Metrics DAO Discord and other kind of data stuff. And like you have questions already. Like the reason why you're interested in that thing is because you want some end result. Like if you're interested in data science, you want to be able to answer some questions. If you want to do smart contract stuff, you want to be able to build a protocol. So you just go in and you just ask people how to do stuff, and then they tell you how to do stuff, and then you go and like make it work, you practice, make it work, and once it's working, you share it, and then you just keep doing that again and again. So you answer your own question or do the thing that you want to do, and then you share it, and you just do that two-step process again and again and again. And it's just it's difficult because it requires work, but it's a very simple thing. There's like no like, yeah, secret formula or algorithm or like, you know, dark underbelly or whatever. Like there are so few people putting out like useful, valuable stuff that if you just do it consistently enough, folk will start to notice you. Like really, like people who you think would never like pay attention to you because they're like too high up in the industry will pay attention, because like most people who come into the space are like just trying to make a quick buck or just trying to shitpost or something like that, like, you know, as opposed to actually put out useful things. So like, you know, within a month, 2 months, 3 months, you keep showing up and people keep seeing your face, and then they start reaching out, and you have optionalities. Like I didn't know when I started like sharing things whether I wanted to start my own startup or go work somewhere. I didn't even think of VC as an option. Like I had no plans of going into VC at all. But like that was an option that came to me because like, you know, I just created like a social proof, that kind of stuff, and you know, it just comes there. Yeah.
Chu Chin, where would you kind of start today, or what would you like? Anybody in this room who like wants to sit here on the next DuneCon panel?
Yeah, like, I think very similar to what Kofi said. But I think the first step is find out where your interest is, and then find your community. So once you're in that community, just start contributing, be helpful. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to know everything from the beginning, but just be helpful. Learn things with people together. And as I mentioned before, just add value in various ways. I'm pretty sure like every single person, like every one of you sitting here will have something to show to the rest of the community. So just like be present and be helpful.
Yeah, just show up. Yeah, really. Yeah. Your take.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of happy with the way I started, but like I think we have a similar way where I started focusing on a single protocol and looking in deep dive into this because no one else has surfaced those stats, and kind of getting into sharing that with the community of that protocol and growing from there at first before expanding out. I think you also have a similar approach, and I think that there's the huge opportunity for analysts to sorry to study into a protocol, to look into a protocol and look into the stats and actually share them with whatever the community of that protocol is, and hopefully they'll notice you if it's valuable. If it's valuable info, and yeah, hopefully that made sense. So yeah, like growing as a small community first and expanding out, I think is a good strategy. Then, when I focused on more macro level stuff, my goal was probably more to make it like newsletters and podcasts and have more eyes on me that way, I guess, and try to grow somewhat marketing or something. I don't know how you would call that, but try to grow my exposure, I guess. And that's the most valuable thing. But if you're really interested in a protocol and you really like it, just go and analyze some stuff, even if without even talking to them, analyze something and surface stats that are interesting that aren't surfaced yet, share those, and I'm pretty sure 90% of the time they'll be very interested and reach out to you. That I think is a common thing that is underexplored by most data scientists.
Yeah, permissionless contributions, like huge thing. Where it's just like, you guys obviously don't have a Dune dashboard, like let me just build one and like just post the link in the Discord, and like sometimes it's like crickets. You're just like, okay, like this doesn't have to seem to hit the mark, but sometimes like the community and the developers are very happy about it, and like I've gotten good tips, like let's call it like that. So yeah, kind of, I think both you and Kofi, you kind of engaged in brand building. So like how important, and like I did that as well. Like when I started my kind of persona, it was like, yeah, I'm gonna like, I have this new pseudonym, which is like a 0x boxer, and like I'm gonna be like a worker in like the house. Now I work at a centralized company, like that didn't quite turn out. But how important do you think is kind of like kind of thinking of a brand? Like it's kind of like Hildobby is definitely a brand. Like if I say Hildobby, like everyone here kind of will know who Hildobby is. If I say Nifty Table was your alias before, like a lot of people will kind of know, like especially in the NFT space, like, oh yeah, it's a good newsletter, or like, yeah, that guy like always posts stuff, like good stuff on Twitter. Like how important do you think like is something like that versus like, yeah, not even versus, like how important, like is there like a special emphasis on this in Web3?
I think the one thing that like a lot of wizards are doing is surfacing data, but it's terribly shown and displayed. And I think there's I don't understand why visualization is so. I mean, people take so little care of it, where it's probably the most important thing, almost more than the stats you share sometimes. Like you could easily rework existing dashboards and make them actually look good, and I think that would gain a lot of traction. And when I open a dashboard, I don't want to have a blob on your life. I couldn't care less. I just want to see the stats. So keep it concise, keep it easy to read, and when I look at the chart, I want to directly know what I'm looking into. So yeah, keeping it really concise, straight to the point, making sure that also when you share it on Twitter, you keep the thing concise and you don't have a whole story of whatever your life, or just keep it straight to the point, I think is the main thing I would recommend.
Yeah, and I mean on the question of like whether or not brand is important, like it depends. A brand is important if you don't know what you want to do exactly. Like I said before, I didn't know whether I wanted to like work somewhere or do a startup. I didn't even know anything about VC. If I'd known specifically what I wanted to do, then sure, like I might have just been able to go straight to that instead of like trying to build an audience, because like I could have, learned how to use Dune from the tutorials and backing people, and then just gone straight to like making stuff specifically for venture firms so that then they would hire me, or like go straight to like using Dune API now to like make my SaaS and charge and make $1 million and ride off into the sunset, whatever the plan is, right? Like you could go straight to that. But if you don't exactly know what you want, then doing the brand thing by creating value for people and sharing and being good at communication is great, because like opportunities will start to come inbound, and you can try out different opportunities and like get a feel of like what you want. Like it's just you get more information coming in, and you don't need to just kind of be certain from the start, or like have some high conviction from the start on what you want to do.
Yeah, I see. We are out of time, so I have a few more questions too, but come up to us if you want any advice, we're all very happy to talk to you. And yeah, thanks for listening, thanks for sharing your stories, guys. Very interesting. I hope some of the wizards here have learned something and now have a better understanding of how they can break into Web3 data science. It's really not something very far away. It's literally like you open your laptop, you build a dashboard, you share it on Twitter. Tag the Dune Analytics account. That's a good life hack that will be abused. You probably get a retweet if it's good content. And in that way, it's you can break into the space kind of easily.
Yeah, it's just good. Yeah.